common citizens have?
Well, I think that's a question that a lot of people in a lot of sectors of society are asking themselves. We've got a very kind of business, corporate best practices model being applied to all kinds of things. I mean, this is, lots of things about school reform are around this, or the redevelopment of public housing. There's a very strong sense that if we just get some business people in here, then we can fix this broken institution. So I think a lot of people are wrestling with that. And I mean, personally, I think ultimately, it's clear this system is kind of breaking down to the point where something else will replace it. I don't know what that will be, but I remind myself that I don't think the people in the Roman Empire ever thought that was going to end either. And it did. I mean, it's just sort of given enough time. I don't know if we'll see it in our lifetime. But I think, sort of in the meantime and kind of alongside that, I do think, work like this that you're doing, work that people are doing on the internet, work that people are doing with their own cameras or even with their phones. People are doing media, broadcasting media all over the world with telephones, cell phones. I think are examples of the ways that citizens are saying, no, I don't want to have to wait to read it in a newspaper or to see it on TV that night. I'm gonna show what's going on. I'm gonna tell people what's going on. And there are a lot of organizations that are really trying to put those tools in the hands of citizens. Another one is One World, which is, I think, a UK-based organization that gets some funding from the government, actually. And they're using cell phones in different parts of Africa to help people broadcast news about job opportunities and different organizations and different events. But it's all happening through cell phones because people don't necessarily have access to other means of communication. I mean, that's just like one example of things people can do. So what I encourage people to do is to not just have one news source that you rely on, but to really try to look at a range of news sources. And if you can, try to look at some things from outside the U.S. because there's some really edgy stuff coming out of, I mean, our whole notion of like objective journalism is just, it's a very odd thing when you look at journalism in the rest of the world where many, many journalists are engaged in work that they are doing to transform society. They are not doing it to rehash what officials said. They want to end regimes and all that kind of thing too.
I'm going to get a little philosophical here.
By all means.
We have today a change in the, how do I say this? There's an ethos in every country. Every country has dominating ideas that kind of inform the public, okay? Inform the public in terms of helping them decide. They have a value system in the back of their head which somehow becomes the focus of a decision, whatever that value system is. Now, let me give you an example. In the Middle Ages, in Europe, the Catholic Church dominated everything, okay? So, I mean, you couldn't move without the approval of the Catholic Church. You couldn't do anything without the sanctions of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church was, and if you go to Europe, especially places like Austria and Germany and not the former communist countries, but even France, you'll see these huge giant churches with their spires all well above all the rest of the town, and those spires symbolize what we know as the church domination of your social mores and your thought. Okay? Now, every country has that. Now, countries, I mean, but the thought changes. You know, you have the age of the Enlightenment. You had Elizabethan period where it was truly during the English time with Queen Elizabeth. She opened up all sorts of arts and music and theater, and Shakespeare thrived under Queen Elizabeth, just thrived, okay? So you have different movements, just like you see minnows in the water, and they go this way for a moment, and then they switch around as a pool, and they go somewhere else. What we have today in America started and I'm going to guess, I can't be sure, started about 30-ish years ago, when it became obvious that capitalism and profit were beginning to take over as our religion. And as our religion, what became part of the capitalism and the profit motive were two other factors. We had wonderful and brilliant advertising. Brilliant advertising to make people think that you and I are less if we don't have X product. We're not as good as. You're never going to get a wife, I'm never going to get a husband unless I use something that they tell me I have to use, okay? Or, yeah, that's right. Or unless I drink the right beer.
Right.
I won't have any friends unless I drink the right beer.
Exactly.
But they were smart because they knew where to go. They knew to get you in your gut. They knew that we had some vulnerable spots, and they knew the spots to get to. So you have the advent of capitalism as a religion and the attendant support by advertising and then public relations. Now, advertising is visible. Public relations are not. And if public relations are successful, they're going to make people think X, whether or not it's true, even though it was a lie.
Right.
Okay? Okay, so you have, and how many young people are going to journalism today who would rather learn the art of public relations rather than journalism?
Right.
You go to...
Because in our religion, it's a higher end.
That's right. That's right. That's right. There's more profit in that religion.
Right.
Exactly. So we have this change, this major concept that I'm a capitalist and I'm proud.
Right.
And you begin to think, the back of your value system in your brain begins to see things through the lens of my need to make a profit. And then it's just a slippery slope before you become really greedy.
Right. Right.
Okay, before you become so greedy that you've lost the common good, you've lost a sense of responsibility toward your fellow man.
Right.
Because my greed and my profit are more important than yours.
Right. Right.
Now, with this, I think, one of the things that you're doing is so important in terms of being able to, own, the whole show, determining the editorial content, determining where you're going to get your funding from.
Right.
How have you, been successful in doing some of these things, and what kind of advice might you give to other young journalists who might be looking to follow in your footsteps?
Well, that's funny because, I would use the term success loosely. We definitely are building a brand and getting our name out there and doing a lot, I think, to help mobilize and organize folks and uplift consciousness in a humorous way.
Right.
We're like, putting sugar into the medicine
Right.
as we give it to folks.
Right.
But one big problem that I'm working hard to get around is funding.
Okay.
Because, we just definitely refuse. I don't take any alcohol advertisement. I don't take tobacco advertisement. I'm not filling up the back of the page with a lot of those 1-900, call this beautiful Luxus.
Exactly.
Voluptuous woman.
Right.
I'm trying to stay away from all that. Not trying, but am staying away from all that. And so that does limit the amount of funding that can come in. But what we do is reach out with a affordable product that can go to a lot of independent, small black businesses, and really let them know the opportunities that we have that can get their word out to their clientele.
Right.
And through doing that, we've been able to survive and keep going. And I think as long as we can help, that's one of the reasons I started Bean Soup Time, was to help foster black business, and to help bring people together. So, when someone picks up Bean Soup Times, they're gonna not see an ad for Pepsi or Coca-Cola because we know those products already.
Exactly. Exactly.
Not to say I wouldn't take those if they came in.
Right.
But I'm going after the black-owned businesses in Chicago, those internet-based businesses that can really benefit from us, and try to build a community.
Right.
Where we're not trying to look always outside of our community for that which we can do for ourselves.
Right.
And if we just treat each other right, I've ran into a lot of wonderful businesses who have great products that not only am I proud to have in the paper, but I patronize.
Right.
When I'm hungry, I'm going to go to a Crunch restaurant.
Right.
I'm going to go to a Cafe 917 because I know I'm going to get some good food that my family will enjoy.
I'm not sure I was prepared to do the job. I was kind of thrown into it.